Hi everyone, it's Nicole here with the Spellbinders May 2019 Large Die of the Month Club Kit. I've got 3 cards to share with you with this awesome layered cake sparkle die set that makes all kinds of fabulous cakes. It has all the cake toppers that you could want and even these amazing little flowers. I'm a sucker for little teeny tiny flowers. We're going to start with the wedding card. When I saw this die set, I instantly thought of creating wedding cards with it. And I am going to take some Buttercream Fun Stampers Journey cardstock. And I'm going to die cut each layer of the cake. So there's those 2 outline layers. And they fold down, those little notched ends or the little angled ends. Those are going to fold in, which gives you that little bit of dimension. And then you can use them with or without the shape dies, which I'm using the little 2-in-1 end that can roll out all those little shapes, especially on this foam mat. You can see how easily they come out. Now this one did not die cut quite as well for whatever reason. So I'm going to end up lining up the die back with this and running it through my machine one more time. Sometimes this will happen if you don't have your die, like if your cutting plates are a little bit warped maybe. I also find that it die cuts a lot better if you put it in at an angle rather than straight in. So if you kind of just angle your die just a little bit on the paper, it will often die cut better. And that die cut without me having to do a whole lot of extra work really. So we'll just clean up the work surface a little bit. Now those ends that I was talking about, those are going to be able to be folded in and then attached to the card, leaving the center part free. Let's go ahead and emboss a background. Embossed backgrounds are one of my favorite ways to do a simple background that adds instant interest to the card. So for this, I'm using some Tonic Studios Majestic Gold Pearlescent cardstock with the Fun Stampers Journey Love Stripes embossing folder. If you've seen any of my other videos with Spellbinders or using any embossing folders from Fun Stampers Journey, you've probably seen me use this one. It is my favorite. I love a simple stripe. I love a simple diagonal stripe, and this one is awesome. And I think it looks really beautiful on this gold pearlescent cardstock. I am going to use the entire panel, meaning it's a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch A2 sized panel. This particular embossing folder does emboss the whole area. So it's going to go side to side, top to bottom. It is A2 sized, which is fantastic if you want it to completely cover the entire front of your card. I'm putting some 1/8 inch double-sided tape along those sides after I've scored and folded them down with my bone folder, and then I'm going to attach those to my card background. I will say I'm not totally sure that they're going to stick really well on the embossed background. If this was a flat background, I wouldn't worry quite so much. I did take a little liquid adhesive and put it underneath those tabs to hold those down and hold those in place on my card because I was just really afraid that with that textured background, they wouldn't stay put because there's no adhesive in the middle part of the cake. So just a little note, if you're creating something similar on a textured type of background, you might want to use a little liquid adhesive, something that you know isn't going to go anywhere. Now comes the fun part, decorating the cake. And what is awesome is there are lots of options in the large die of the month for May. We've got the little picks, I guess you call them, that go on the top of the cake and banners you can hang from them. We've got flowers, which I'm going to decorate all 3 of my cake cards with the flowers. And if you watched my small die of the month club video that I will link to at the end of this one, I use the small flowers in those as well. I love the size of these small flowers. So they can be used for layer cakes and beyond. There are also candles with all of the numbers. there are our little candle numbers, regular candles, little sparkles that you can put out of the top of the cake, so many things. Lots and lots of dies. I die cut the little spikes here I'm going to put in the top of my cake out of some Tonic Studios Harvest Gold Mirror cardstock. And then the banners are out of some Simon Says Stamp Champagne Glitter cardstock. Everything for this wedding card was done in shades of ivory and gold. So whether that be gold pearlescent, gold mirror, gold glitter, champagne glitter, and then ivory cardstock. It just kind of kept to a theme. And you could do this in any colorway that you want. I was definitely going for a more elegant feel with kind of a whimsical design. We're going to put 3 banners. I thought I would just do 2. I opted to do 3. I like odd numbers better. So we'll go ahead and die cut an additional banner and pop it in place. These are adhered directly to the card base itself. And then I've got lots and lots of flowers here. You can see to the right of my project, die cut from these same cardstock colors. So we're going to have some from Champagne Glitter. We will have some flowers from the Gold Pearlescent. We'll have some the small ones from Gold Glitter cardstock, which is Lawn Fawn Holiday Sparkle Gold Glitter cardstock. And then the leaves are all the Harvest Gold Mirror foil cardstock. I am starting in the lower right corner, and I'm going to create the majority of the flowers, the biggest grouping of flowers, down here in the bottom right corner. We'll have a smaller grouping between the 2 layers over on the left, and then we'll have a single flower up in the top on the right. And we're simply going to layer all of these and create little collages of florals. I'm going to use some of the smaller sized gold glitter flowers by themselves, and the rest will be adhered in the center of the other flower. If you use the Stylus tip on the end of your tool-in-one, you can give your florals kind of that natural floral shape. I like to use that big end. You could also use one of the smaller Stylus tips, but I love my tool-in-one. I use it every time I craft for Spellbinders projects and beyond. It's a fantastic tool, but it really helps give these flowers a little bit of texture. I also love using some tweezers to help guide and place items on my card, and a crystal katana. These are 3 tools that I find invaluable when creating, especially creating with small die cuts or other small pieces. And you can see the cake kind of starting to take shape now. We've got some beautiful little flowers. And this would not necessarily have to be a wedding card. You could make this a birthday card very easily, or an anniversary card, or whatever you want. I think it would be kind of cute to maybe do a 50 on top and do it for an anniversary. So there are many, many options for using these cake dies. They're just super fun, and I love all the different parts and pieces and how you can mix and match them to really make the cakes your own. I think I will even add another little flower over here on the left along the bottom edge. Before I move on to finishing the embellishing and adding my sentiment. I'm going to use Nouveau Crystal Drops in Ivory Seashell for the center of my flowers. So this is not a pure white. I picked ivory to go with the cardstock color we're using in the background because I thought that it went with the buttercream much better than a white would. Then we will use bright gold to adorn the cake. And we're just going to create some little droplets on the cake itself. It has all those great die cut areas. You can see the gold pearlescent cardstock through all those die cut areas. This just adds a little something extra and special and decorates that cake really fun. And I'm going to continue adding these all over my cake design before I add some little drops to the banners up at the top of the cake as well. So I felt like the banners were a little plain where there's so much embellishment on the cake. I love them though. And I contemplated whether I wanted to maybe try to find some small little gems or little heart gems or even add some of the small little flowers. And I ended up just adding more droplets to the banners. So 2 of the banners will have the bright gold drops and 1 will have the ivory seashell drops. And that kind of coordinates and complements the rest of the design really nicely. The last thing we have to do for this card is add a sentiment. And here's where I'm adding a little liquid adhesive where I'm just thinking it's not going to stay put. A little tip for that is add the liquid adhesive and use your tweezers to help hold that down until the liquid glue dries all the way. For my sentiments, I used the Simon Says Stamp Tiny Words stamp set, and I used the phrases Best Wishes and To the Happy Couple. I stamped these on the Buttercream Fun Stamper's Journey cardstock with a clear embossing ink, and then heat embossed with Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold Embossing Powder before popping these up with foam adhesive right below the cake. These almost serve as a cake stand type of look underneath the cake and finish off the design perfectly. Once I have that done, I can go ahead and take this whole panel, attach it to a white top fold or side fold card base, whichever you prefer. I tend to go with top fold card bases most of the time if I have a portrait style card. And you could stamp another sentiment inside if you wanted to, or leave it blank for your greeting to the happy couple. My next card I'm going to create is a birthday themed card. In fact, my next 2 cards are birthday cards. I did this one very much the same as the wedding card, with the exception that instead of the striped background, we are going to use the Inspire Script Fun Stamper's Journey embossing folder to emboss the background for this out of white cardstock. I die cut the cake panels just like I did on the last one, only this time from Cool Pool cardstock. We've got some candles there, die cut from Banana Cream cardstock, and then the numbers from some Peaches and Cream cardstock. And I'm embellishing the numbers on the cake with a little Nouveau Orange Marmalade Jewel Drop. This is a translucent color, so it's still going to show the peaches and cream through that. And I only added it to the number portion of those die cuts. Then we're going to use some Honey Gold Glitter drops on the top, the flame part of the candles. I'm going to adorn this cake just like I did the last one with flowers. So groupings down along the bottom edge, in the bottom right corner, in between the 2 layers on the left, and then a flower up at the top on the right. This time my flowers are die cut from Fun Stamper's Journey, Peaches and Cream, Banana Cream, and Lemongrass cardstocks. I went for kind of a springy type of colorway for this card. Really bright and fun. I wanted the colors to be soft and pretty but pop off of a white background. An embossing folder is always a great touch if you want a little subtle something in the background but you don't want it to be super busy. I love embossing folders for this, and Fun Stamper's Journey has a lot of great ones. You're going to see me use a ton of embossing folders with my die cutting because I just absolutely love that look and think it is a fantastic way to get that texture without overwhelming the beautiful die cuts that are the focal point and showcase of this design. Using a few less flowers on this card than I did on the last one, but still definitely adorning the cake. You could do maybe a little bit more of a pattern rather than just groups or little clusters of them. I tend to gravitate toward the clusters, but as I'm working through the video and looking back at it, I think that creating a more definitive pattern would also be fun. Again, I am using tweezers, a crystal katana, and liquid adhesive to adhere these. I used the Stylus tip on my Tool-in-One to give those flowers some shape. I'm using Nuvo crystal drops and gloss white in the center of my flowers. And I will also use the gloss white to add the decoration to the Cool Pool die cut cardstock cake. So lots of embellishing with Nuvo crystal drops. I think they are a great way to add embellishment to die cuts very, very easily. Whether you're tracing the shape like I did on the flame of the candles or the numbers, or adding droplets like I did in the center of the flowers or on the cake. Now for the sentiment on this particular card, I also used a greeting from the Simon Says Stamp Tiny Words stamp set. Stayed pretty consistent. That's the only stamp set I used today. I had it out. It had lots of greetings in it, so I went ahead and went with that. And I'm going to layer my stamped and embossed sentiment strip right over the cake for this card, because you can see I shifted the cake down a little bit. It's more centered. I probably could have put it underneath if I wanted to, but I think there's a lot of space on the cake itself that serves as a great little spot to put a greeting if you want. And I did go back and add a few additional little yellow teeny tiny blooms. I thought it helped balance out my card design a little better. And here's that happy birthday sentiment that I'm going to put on the cake. You can do any age or number you want. I love that there are numbers and you can really customize the card for the recipient. For my final card, instead of using the die cut cake shape, we're going to only use the inserts and die cut those from a strip. So I have got a strip here of the Buttercream Fun Stamper's Journey cardstock, and I'm going to die cut my cake layers from this before matting it on some peaches and cream cardstock. And then I'm embellishing with the little sticks and little sparkles, also some more number die cuts and flowers. And this time I'm kind of using a combination. So our first card was lots of golds and creams, very elegant. Our second card was very clean with a white background and then the soft, pretty colors. This time we're going to combine the two. We're going to use our soft, pretty colors with some gold accents. I'm a big fan of the Cool Pool and Peaches and Cream and Banana Cream cardstocks, as well as the Buttercream, used with golds. I think it's a really pretty color combination and they work really nice together. So just like we did before, we're going to adorn the top of the cake. This time there is no dimensional cake layer, so everything's going to be flat, but you still get that cake shape. We're going to add all of our little flowers and leaves. Leaves this time were die cut from Cool Pool, and we're going to tie that all in with a Cool Pool background that is embossed with the Love Stripes embossing folder. This time though, you're only going to see a little embossing along the two long sides. Let's go ahead and take our middle panel before we start embellishing with any Nuvo crystal drops, any liquid product, and stamp a sentiment, again from the Simon Says Stamp Tiny Words stamp set. This is going to say birthday wishes, and it's going to be stamped right below the cake with clear embossing ink and then heat embossed with the antique gold embossing powder. I will tell you, I held the dies for the cake in place with Post-it tape. And the Post-it tape apparently leaves a little residue on the cardstock. I did not notice that it did. So when I added the embossing powder, you can see it left that huge clump of embossing. The embossing powder stuck to that residue. So I ended up wiping away all the embossing powder. I did not want to start all over from scratch. I wiped it away with a paintbrush. I took a sand eraser and erased any of that residue, stamped the sentiment again, added my embossing powder, and embossed it. So this is the exact background. This is exactly the one that I just showed you. I did not have to redo any of it. But if you come across something similar, I wanted to let you know how I fixed it so that you can fix it too. And another little tip I have learned, and I was able to restamp my sentiment exactly where I did, is because I leave it in my MISTI until I am done and I make sure that it's stamped and embossed. That way, in case I need to stamp it again in the exact same spot, I'm able to do so really easily. We'll add just our few little embellishments to our cake here. And again, I've listed all those cardstock colors down along the bottom of the screen, and they are also listed and linked below the video here. We're gonna layer our flowers. The flowers this time are die cut from Peaches and Cream and Banana Cream. There are some Buttercream flower centers, that's that ivory color. And then our leaves are all from Cool Pool, as I mentioned a minute ago. So a little bit different color for the leaves, but I think it ties into our background really nicely. This time we will take Nuvo Crystal Drops in bright gold and add those as the flower centers. That's going to tie in the gold from the top, our cake toppers, into the bottom part of our card and kind of coordinate it with the gold embossed sentiment, and then the little gold flower centers. I'm not going to add any Nuvo Crystal Drops to the cake shape itself, but I will add the bright gold to the center of the sparkles up at the top, and then we're going to take the honey gold, which is that glitter drop, and we are going to trace over the numbers on the top of the cake, which is going to give just the number portion a little soft glitter. It's kind of a translucent with gold glitter in it. And then I'll even add a few little drops just kind of scattered around, almost like little sparks. We will then add this to our Cool Pool background, which is A2 sized and embossed with the Love Stripes embossing folder. That's going to give us a great little embossed edge down both sides. We'll pop our panel in place, and our final card featuring the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month Club Kit dies for May 2019 is all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 3 cake-themed cards featuring the Spellbinders Layered Cake Sparkle dies for May 2019. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Spellbinders dies that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.